You know, I've always found it really interesting, just personally, and maybe you guys do as well, the differences you'll see from omnibus volumes between different publishers. Now, there's so many different varieties you see of omnibus manga, and not just from publisher to publisher, but inside one publisher. I mean, you'll have so many variations on, size and the number of volumes and the composition and the make and the quality. So today's video, I just kind of want to do mostly just a fun little experiment and just grab a whole bunch of different omnibus volumes I have and just compare them. We're going to pretty much just look at them with inside their publisher and like compare them all together. And then we'll just, I'll just maybe mention here and there, or maybe we'll just do at the end, some of the ones that really missed the mark, because there are some really good ones and there are some really poor ones. So I thought we'd just take a look. All right, first, we're going to start with our set of 3 volumes we're going to be taking a look at from Dark Horse. Now, the first one of the worst ones in our whole collection here. So this is the Chobits Omnibus volumes from Dark Horse. It has 4 volumes inside, and one thing we can say right out the gate, 4 volumes in almost any case scenario is going to be too many. You can just see how crazy thick this volume becomes. And the spine, it just isn't going to hold up. Now, if you want to do something like 4 volumes like this, you've got to have a larger size book than this. Like, you can just see here, like the second you start to get to the middle of this book, I mean, your whole spine's going to cave in, and it's really just going to do a lot of damage to it the more you read. So something like this just really isn't going to work. This is about as bad as it gets, I think, for omnibus releases. But that was an older Dark Horse release, and now you move on to something here where I think they've really hit a really good system, and they've got a good thing going on now. So this is the Cardcaptor Sakura before they lost the license. And so they have a lot of books that are this size now, and they really hold up well. They plus-sized the books a little bit, so they're a little bigger. I'll give you a little bit of a size comparison so you can see. But that extra height really, really does make a difference with an omnibus release. Now, if you want to do anything more than 2 volumes, you're pretty much starting to look at, you have to start increasing the size of your book. Now, this book just, it holds up so well. The spines do really good. And in general, these Dark Horse, like these newer omnibus releases from Dark Horse, just do really well. I believe, let me look at my cheat sheet. I think these ones have, I don't know how many volumes are in this one. I want to say it's either 2 or 3, but I'm sorry for not knowing off the top of my head. But no, this is a great one. Dark Horse have really come a long way in their omnibus releases because a lot of their old ones are awful. But their new ones that are shaped like this are really good. And then skipping right ahead to what may be like the coup de grace of omnibus releases is Dark Horse's Berserk. What are they called? Deluxe editions. Now these books, obviously, we've all seen them. They're beautiful. The insides, I gotta be careful what I'm opening up to with Berserk, but the insides are just beautiful. They're so well done. Now, obviously, these books are a lot more expensive than your other books, but you've got this, I guess you wouldn't necessarily call it hardcover. It basically is. It's like a leather-bound copy. But these books are just beautiful. They got 3 volumes inside. Obviously, it makes them a real plus size here, but you know, you're gonna have to pay more for this. This is where you start running into that give and take with an omnibus release. Now, you want it bigger, you want it like a nice hardcover or a nice leather to make it really, to make it a really standout release, but then the price is gonna go up. So you have to start balancing what you think is good and what you think isn't. But I think we can all agree that these releases are just top-notch. All right, that's all the ones we're going to look at from Dark Horse. Now let's go ahead and skip over to some Kodansha Comics omnibus releases. We're going to start with your pretty basic one here. So this is the average size of your normal manga, or Kodansha's normal manga if you just want to put it that way. And this is a 2-in-1. Now 2-in-1s are pretty standard, and I think it's really hard to go wrong with a 2-in-1. Not much to say about this one. I do love how, because Yamano-kun and the Seven Witches went omnibus a lot like later in its release cycle than usually most series go. And so they actually kept the spine so it looks like the other volumes. I think that was a awesome touch that Kodansha did with these spines. You can barely tell when it's on the shelf, so it's really cool. That's what makes these a little unique and why I grabbed these ones in particular. But no, great. These spines are going to hold up just fine with this size of a book. Perfectly good omnibus release. Now here, with their slightly older Love Hina omnibus release, you're really starting to push the limits on what's fine. You can see the difference you're going to have in these two sizes. And I think what you're going to find is these Love Hina, it's just within the bounds of what's acceptable, but I also think it's because the Love Hina individual volumes aren't that large, and is what makes this just passable. Because if you take something like Air Gear, which I believe has the same number of omnibus volumes as this one does, the volumes are just bigger, and it starts to make it untenable. You get into that Chobits territory where it's just too big, and it really just doesn't work very well. So this Love Hina book, right on the edge of okay, but it's not the worst, but you're going to have some trouble with the spine. It's a little too big. Now moving on to their Vinland Saga hardcover release. Now these are an awesome release in my opinion. I was shocked to find that these are only 2 volumes because apparently the volumes must be quite hefty. But it's a 2-volume release. Great. Not much to say about this one in particular, but it's just a great release, you know, done really well. Hardcover's done well, just 2 volumes. I don't think, but it's a little plus size, a little bit bigger than your normal manga volume, but you just can't go wrong with this one. This one's also done really well. Now moving on, here's a 2-in-1, which has surprised me this is 2-in-1 because this is not a very big book whatsoever, which is why I grabbed 2 of them the same size. So this is like Kodansha's like bigger print releases, and while these two both have 2 volumes in them, you can see like just what the difference is just in print volume. But this is like, I think, the gold standard for what you hope when you get an omnibus release. I just think, although that Yamada-kun book is perfectly acceptable, these are just perfect. I think you find with an omnibus release that going that plus size, although you don't have to, it's not a requirement with a 2-in-1 volume, but these 2-in-1s are done really well, and ones I really like. All right. Here's one that is a bit of a disaster. I think it's safe to say that these Kodansha, what'd they call them again? This one's the Master's Edition, but I think the Attack on Titan ones were like the Colossal Editions. In theory, these are great. There's one problem. It's not hardcover. These had to be hardcover releases because they are so flimsy. Like they just twist and turn, and any ding, any dent, any little bump will just start to wreck these covers. They just do not hold up. I've actually got this one's signed on the inside. Haha, look at that. Do I have any other signatures in this one? I don't really remember. But these were just a miss. I know they're already kind of expensive on that $40 price range, but they've got 5 volumes in them, right? I believe I wrote that down. These have 5 volumes in them. I don't know how you're putting like an omnibus edition together like this without having it be hardcover. I understand that the price is really going to go up with something like this, but it really missed, and I think it's easy to see why in the Attack on Titan releases and the Fairy Tail releases, why they were discontinued. Now, here's the first gripe I'm going to get to of a release like this. Now, this release is beautiful. Beautiful hardcover, very nice. It's got, I think, at least 1 or 2 colored pages on the inside. Just gorgeous, super gorgeous, an awesome, easy read. But there's a serious flaw, I think, with a release like this. And it's pretty simple. It's got like, what is it? Let me check my notes. About 1.3 volumes per release. That is stupid. We're going to hit another series that does that in this pile a little later as well. Stop doing this. This is very annoying. I don't know why. Put 2 volumes in it. Why you're ever releasing an omnibus edition with less than 2 volumes in it is just ridiculous. It's easy. Like, this book does not need to be this small. Like, I think there are 9 of these. There didn't need to be 9 of them. They could have had them, I think, released in 7 or 8 easy. I mean, these books are $30 a piece already, And you're paying $30 for not even 2 volumes of manga. I don't understand that. Please stop doing this. That is a terrible idea, and it is rather annoying. Other than that, this book is beautiful, and it's done really well. Put 2 volumes in it. All right, moving right along. 2, 7 Seas. Here's your pretty standard 2-in-1. Nothing much to say more about these the more I get onto them, but it's just a really simple, just 2-in-1 manga. Nothing special about it, nothing crazy about it, just done really well, normal size for the 7 Seas releases, and it's just really good. Now here is just that same thing you find. So this is a 3-in-1 release from 7 Seas, but it keeps that same size. And unfortunately, it seems to be pretty standard. Once you hit that 3 volumes, you're just kind of at max capacity. Like, this isn't awful, it isn't the worst, but at the same time, it's also not good. It's just 3 volumes on the whole. If you aren't increasing your height, just isn't really going to work. And, speak of the devil, here's a 3-in-1, and now this 3-in-1 is ridiculously chunky, even with the increased size. Now, I don't remember the Dance in the Vampire Bun books being this, like, ridiculously big. But even then, like, this book is, like, almost hard to read just because it's so much to handle. But with that increased height, you really are able to still read it without, like, having to break that spine all the way open, and it's just fine. And so while this is a 3-in-1 that is massively chunky, it's got that bigger size, and it just makes it work. All right, doing this on my knees was not the best idea I've ever had. All right, so moving on to Yen Press. Now, I'm not going to dwell on this too long. Your simple little 2-in-1 just works well. A good release, good solid, just all around, nothing wrong with it. Good. And this one, of all the ones, even the taller ones I've looked at so far, is really nice. Because this one actually has, like, the slipcover thing on the inside, even though it's, like, not a real slipcover. Always a nice touch. Just gives it, like, gives your manga a touch of class. But this is just a very well thought out release. 2-in-1 editions. Didn't put that 1.5 volumes in there and do something weird. Perfectly solid release, in line with a lot of the larger 2-in-1 series you'll see released. Now, this next one, while not strictly a yen release, I wanted to just compare it, because I will say I am super sad that these never got finished, because say what you want about Tokyo Pop, these releases are really quite nice, other than the page quality really being slightly poor. But these hardcovers are so nice. And while I love these, and these are a great release, I've got to say, Tokyo Pop did great with these. And I'm so sad that they never got finished releasing. But just a really nice 2-in-1 set. Like, it's one of the nicest hardcovers here. Because unlike Vinland Saga, they plus size the volume, which I do think works better. I think, because Vinland Saga is, you know, only about this high. And I think this is a little bit better, I'm not going to lie. Now, here's one I won't float around too much. And this one's kind of a bit of a special case that I just kind of wanted to put in the pile, but it's hard to compare it to a lot of the other series. But this is obviously the Attack on Titan. That's not what this is. This is the High School of the Dead hardcover release. Now, this is what, you know, the Attack on Titan, now I can say it, and the Fairy Tail releases should have been. These nice hardcover. Now, the color, obviously not. Like, the color is obviously now the color is a unique and special situation, which I'm surprised High School of the Dead got, but I guess it really was kind of a cultural hit back in the day. So I know this is a different one. It's hard to compare it to anything else, but this is a really, really nice release as well. Moving on to our Viz Media here, pretty standard. Here's your 2-in-1 release. Nothing crazy about it, just fine, works well. Just, hey, the standard, I would say, with an omnibus release. Now here's an interesting one that is definitely different between the other publishers, and it's Viz's 3-in-1s. So Viz's 3-in-1s are interesting in the fact that it's as flimsy as, let's say, like that Fairy Tail, that really large Fairy Tail volume is. But I don't find that to be an issue with this smaller, normal-sized book. Because you can see it's the same size here as your 2-in-1. And what's funny is this book in particular is actually smaller than this 2-in-1. Probably because maybe just because it's a shoujo and the volume has just been smaller. But even like with the One Piece and the Naruto ones I've seen before, their 3-in-1s tend to work. And I don't know if it's just because they just make them small enough, or if they make them flimsy enough where like the 3-in-1s work. Now maybe the 3-in-1s don't always work and they do run into the same issues, but I must find like with this particular 3-in-1, perfectly fine. If you've got volumes that are small enough for it, you can work with the 3-in-1, but only if it comes out something like that. One of Vertical's signature releases here, and this is just your standard, pretty much like bigger release 2-in-1 edition. This one like is a bit more high quality than even your normal one, just like those Fruit Baskets one. This one has like that fake slipcover on the inside, which I just die for. I think that's a really, really nice thing to do. And so this is a really top quality, really nice omnibus release. And then here we go with what I think is one of the best running omnibus editions you find from any of the publishers. And that's Viz's 3-in-1s. Like the Viz Big 3-in-1s are done so well. Just the spines are good. They've got these slip covers, at least a lot of, I think this does, right? Yeah, it's got the slip covers on the inside. The spines hold up so well. They aren't too big. And even like with something that's made this well, the last two Inuyasha volumes are 4-in-1s. And while those honestly do start to get a little too big, it's really not a deal breaker because they're just made to last, you know? And the Viz Big editions are some of the gold standards, I'd say, when you're looking at like a bigger size omnibus release. All right, so here we have the only Square Enix edition on this list, and I've got to say I was really excited for these. I am a sucker for a hardcover. You give me hardcover, I love me some hardcover. But when I found out that these are only 1.5 volumes apiece, why? Hear me out. So Soul Eater, the original Soul Eater is 25 volumes. To release all of the omnibus volumes, it's going to take 17 of them. What's the point? Why are you making an omnibus release if you still are releasing way more than half of the volumes? That's so stupid. And it's really a shame because these perfect editions from Soul Eater, they're so nice. Like the page quality on the inside, it's really good. I love everything about them except like, why wouldn't you make this? Why wouldn't you put the other 0.5 of a volume in this? And it's so weird when you're reading them too, because sometimes you get to sections where it's not meant to stop, and you're like, that's a weird stopping point. I don't know. It's just, I need companies to stop doing this. It's one of the things I want to highlight most in this video, is just that this is an awesome release. It's not like crazy big, like some of the other, like it's not even as big. It's slightly smaller, as you can see. Pretty much the same size, but almost even just a smidge smaller than this Viz Big edition. And I love it. I love the size they went for. I love the hardcover they went for. It's really nice. Don't give me 2 volumes in an omnibus. Let's be serious here. And then to finish us off with some Vertical releases here. This is your pretty standard. Now, it's smaller a little bit than your normal size manga because it is a Vertical release. But because the 2-in-1s work so easily with pretty much everything, you can tell that this feels a little chunkier in your hand, even though it is only a 2-in-1. Still works perfectly fine. This, I think, is a little bit better of a 2-in-1. Because it's actually a bigger release than your normal Vertical release, as you can see, and it makes it perfect. This size is perfect. I would have loved if the Mysterious Girlfriend X volumes were this big, but still, it's fine. They don't really need to be, and so there's no really complaint there, but this size feels really good in your hand. And then this is just kind of one I wanted to bring up. I'm not actually sure how many volumes are in this because it says 1, 2, and 3 on here. So it says it right in the back, so good for me. This is very akin, I'd say, to like the Cardcaptor Sakura edition we looked at earlier from Dark Horse. Very similar in feel and works really well. Just a really nice, nothing wrong with it feel. All right, that was kind of just a video I just kind of want to have some fun with and just do some talking about some omnibus releases. I think it's pretty easy to tell what I thought about them as we went through, but some of like the standouts as far as like a really tight, nice release. This Dark Horse format, the Viz Big Editions, always really good. Berserk is just a coup de grace, really, really nice. I think pretty much every single one of your standard 2-in-1 tall is probably my favorite way to do an omnibus, but the 2-in-1 shorter or smaller edition, perfectly fine, perfectly reasonable. You get up to 3 volumes, almost always going to be too much. 4 volumes in a smaller size, too much. Get it out of here. We don't want that shit. But anyway, guys, I've been Fiddle Ferret. I do hope you enjoyed this little video. It was just kind of fun to make. I was like, you know what? I've been thinking about omnibus releases for a while, and just kind of wanted to touch it. I wanted to talk about what the different publishers do, the quality in them, the size, all that stuff that we talked about. So I do hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, all that stupid stuff. Let me know what you guys think about omnibus releases in manga. And don't do this. You have a great thing going. Swear, just don't do this.